Hello everyone, welcome back to the Scrap Zone. I'm Julie, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to create these 3 beautiful cards using one Slimline die. Now I did bring in this one right here, which is the Square Windows Slimline die from Close to My Heart to create these 3 cards. And I'm also going to bring in this beautiful one right here, which is the one that is featured in the In Full Bloom card making kit. I love that butterfly, so I couldn't resist. All right, so this one right here, if you plan out your cards a little bit, I did the front cover right here and I cut out my little square pieces. I even strategically placed my sentiment. I am going to color these little butterflies, and I show that at the end of the video if you're interested. So that is card number 1. And looking at it now, if you like the black and white, this is completely fine. It looks really good. So again, these squares are going to be used on another card. The next one I cut was in black cardstock, and I'm using that center part again. I'm going to layer it up with the white one for this center card right here. So you can see here that I've used the negative of those dies, and I'm going to create a card. This one right here, again, I'm using my Spectrum Noir markers, and I'm going to color in those butterflies. This was a scrap piece that I actually saved from my scrapbooking workshop. So if you want to see that, it's also going to be linked at the end of the video. So I lined up my top layer right here and I stamped those pretty butterflies and the sentiments. And again, it looks really good in black and white. So if you're not a fan of the coloring, the black and white option is always available. So actually this card was the inspiration that kind of grew into 3 cards. So I took an embossing folder. It's a retired embossing folder, but anything that has flowers I think would work. So I ran it through twice, but this particular pattern doesn't have a repeat on it. So there is a little bit of a line, but once I add my square, you really don't see it. So I'm not going to stress out over that too much. So that piece goes right in the center, and I thought, okay, how can I use this die to make a border? So I thought that that would be fun, so I'll show you how this came together. And also to be noted here, I actually use the deboss side for my card. I just like the lighter tone to it, and I just like the way that it worked out on this particular project. Alright, so for the border, so these little film strip, I just snip them right in the center. So I have 2, and then I'm going to line them up on this front panel right here. So I'm just using regular glue, and I'm adding glue to the rungs. I guess that's what I can call them. Kind of like, looks like a little ladder to me right now. So I'm adding glue, and then I'm just going to add it to the front of this panel. So I'm going to line it up, and the fact that I've used liquid glue is really good because it can maneuver my piece just a little bit. And when you work from the back side, you actually see if it goes on nice and straight. And I think that looks like a really pretty border. So we're going to add a second piece right here. I did cut these out of black cardstock with a solid core, so you don't have any white core to kind of mess up your alignment, and it looks just really good. And I'm just going to line them up right here, overlap them, and then I'm just going to cut the extra piece at the bottom. I'm just going to make sure everything is nice and straight. And when you put this together, you'll see that you can kind of see it moving from the back. Like if there's a little bit of a gap, you can really align it perfectly with your front panel. So I'm going to snip this off right here. And then I've gone ahead and I've added the second side to this front panel. So we're going to pop that right in the center. And I think that that looks really good. So again, you see right here, there's a little bit of a line where I extended my embossing with the folder because I had to run it through twice. But once you add those little square rectangles, you really can't tell. So these little guys here were all colored already. And then I brought out my clear shimmer brush and I added a whole bunch of shimmer to them. I really hope you can see it because it looks really good. So those little butterflies are going to go right on my card front, just like so. So I'm just going to kind of set them up as if they're flying away from the sentiment. So I've got the little sentiment down at the bottom that says thanks. And I'm just going to pop those with thin 3D foam tape because I find that when you do use thin 3D foam tape, it really doesn't mess up too much when you're sending them in the mail. So I wanted to do something a little bit more with this card. So I'm going to bring out my liquid glass right here and I stamped these on acetate. I did use StazOn ink to stamp on the acetate and it worked perfectly. They look really good. So I'm going to layer those on top of the colored ones. Now by using liquid glass, and I'm just putting it right in the center of the body, it dries clear and you really can't tell once everything is nice and dry. I'm going to use here just my tweezers and just press that into the center to make sure that it doesn't move. It does slide a little bit, so you have to take your time, but I just thought it was a really nice addition to this card. Now you can also shape your little butterfly, even though it's acetate, you can fold it with your bone folder, and then again, add a little bit of liquid glass right in the body section. And then I'm going to pop that right on top of the other one. And you can tell here that's a little bit slippery, but that's okay. And then I'm just going to press that down gently and just hold it for a second for it to kind of stick to my card. I really like the way that that looks. It's an extra detail. I hope you can see the little fluttery butterfly with the acetate and the colored one underneath. I think it looks really sharp. So this is card number 1, which was a combination of this card here and the other one. By strategically cutting and using the negative spaces, I was able to do that one card. So this one right here, again, if you love black and white, this is absolutely gorgeous as a black and white card. But I wanted to add the colored butterflies on this one too. So I did color those in, and those were the ones that I left the tip of the wings more white if you want, and then I brought in a whole bunch of clear shimmer to them. So we're going to pop those right on top, very much like the other ones we just did. So I'm going to fold them in the center, and then I'm going to curl their little wings, the top ones anyway. So I'm just going to curl them down, and I'm going to add these to the card. And that little pop of color is just gorgeous. But again, if you like black and white, I think that that would work too. I'm just going to fluff them up a little bit. And I think that looks pretty awesome. I love the sentiment. I love that I was able to keep the pattern paper scrap from my scrapbook workshop and make this beautiful card with it. So let's finish off with card number 1, which was kind of how I started this project. And we're going to put this one together as well. So here you see that I've got my front panel, and I really think I'm going to use 3D foam tape on here. And these were leftover pieces. Now, if you have a full piece, it's probably easier just to put it right on the top. But if you have leftovers, you can see here that it's going to work out just fine. So I'm leaving like just a little hairline at the top and on the right hand side. And I'm going to put this one right here at the bottom. So I'm just trying to put them where those little windows are going to be, those little squares. I'm just going to double check here just to make sure. Yep, nope, that's going to work. So basically here, just using scraps, I'm going to put this right on top. And I chose that pattern because I wanted the butterfly to stand out. And again, here I'm showing you that if you like black and white, this would be just beautiful. So I'm going to add my 3D foam tape, and I'm using the thin one. I find that when you use the thin 3D foam tape, you don't get charged extra for mailing your cards out. And I do use it on the full length, only because I don't want it to buckle when I pop this in the mail. So if you've been here before, you know that I like to add a little bit of glue on my 3D foam tape. I'm just using liquid glass here. And the reason for that, the Slimline cards are longer. So I just want to give myself just a little bit of wiggle room if you want. So I'm going to pop this right on top, and by adding the liquid glass on the double-sided 3D foam tape, it just gives me a little time to adjust everything and make sure that my top panel is perfectly aligned. So that worked out very nicely. So this is how I colored these butterflies right here, and this is an extreme close-up, but I just wanted you to get a nice close-up view on here. So I did use glacier ink, and I did a little bit of ink blending on the edges of their little wings here, the little butterfly's wing, and you could stop here. So these cards, I'm kind of showing you that you can stop at whatever level you feel you're comfortable with. But by adding the blending, you can see now that as I'm coloring this little guy in, it's not difficult because I've got a little bit of a base. I'm just lightly adding some colors to the center of his little wings and kind of feathering it out. So I started with the lightest, and then I went back with the mid color, and then I'm just going to blend everything back into the center of the butterfly. Just underneath the wings, I'm going to add a little bit of the darkest shade. I'm going to go back one more time with a little bit of the light, just to blend everything together. And then the center is done with the brown, the gray browns, I believe. I'll list the markers that I use down below. And I'm just adding a little bit of shadow on the one side of his little body. And you can go in with an even darker shade if you want. And that's pretty much it. Except, of course, I had to bring back my shimmer pen and add a little bit of shimmer. So I had to let them dry. And as I was sitting here waiting for them to dry, it's kind of like watching paint dry. I thought, that front panel needs a little something something. So I pressed the color into the lid of my ink pad, and I just swirled my clear shimmer brush and added a few splatters. And that was all it needed. It looks really pretty. It's very subtle, but it just really unifies the color with the white panel. I'm going to fold these in half, and they're a little bit wet, so I'm being a little impatient here just to show you how they all came together. So you just have to be mindful and let everything dry. I'm going to glue them down very much like all of the other ones, just in the center of their body. I'm going to press that down and fluff their little wings. And this is the completion of all of the cards that were really created with two die cuts. So the one die cut for the base, and then the other die cut for the nice borders here and the pretty butterflies. So don't be afraid to take maybe a moment and maybe plan out how you're going to create your cards and extend them to, instead of making one card, you can actually make 3 cards. I really like the way that these turned out. I hope you like it too. I wanted to take a moment here and let you know that the creative design team is now open for registration and you can join our exclusive group. We have tons of videos and inspiration to get your mojo flowing. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and if you want to see the scrapbooking in full bloom workshop, click this video right here. Have yourself a fantastic day and I will catch you in the next video.